I wanted to do a quick video today to talk about why I think this Seamaster SMPc, as it's called, second generation after the Brosnan watch, is one of the best Seamasters to own, especially for 6.5 to 6.75 inch wrists. So I'll be comparing this against my No Time to Die. I know it's not an exact comparison. I'd love to compare it against the Brosnan, but I wanted to share some thoughts on why I think this is such a great watch, such a great value. So what you get with the second generation is this original 41 millimeter case, and that's the same case as the Brosnan watch, so it wears really well. It wears smaller than this No Time to Die. You can even see in the shot it looks a lot smaller of a watch, and you do get a coaxial powered movement. So it's the 2500D, which is one of the better versions, the ETA based movement with the coaxial added. You have a ceramic bezel insert, so the bezel did get bigger on this one compared to the original Brosnan. It's a little bit thicker, a little bit chunkier, so it gives it a chunkier look, and it's a little bit thicker on the bottom because of that coaxial movement. It has a really nice seahorse engraving on the back, and the bracelet. So the bracelet is in between the original very comfortable pin Brosnan Seamaster bracelet, but it's not as jagged, not as kind of squared off as the brand new Seamaster bracelet that I find a little bit less comfortable. So you do get the comfort. It's not as comfortable as the Brosnan one, but it's more comfortable than the brand new bracelet, and I think it looks really well on this watch. So I know some people don't particularly like this bracelet. I think it's the quintessential look for this watch, and one of the reasons I sometimes prefer this over the No Time to Die, while it looks really good on the mesh isn't super comfortable for me. I tend to wear it on the NATO. Additionally, I think the mesh feels a little bit more generic. Yes, the watch looks fantastic on it, but there's a mesh bracelet on a lot of different watches, Breitlings, a lot of different ones that are out there, whereas this bracelet is very unique to the Omega Seamaster, especially this one, the Bond one. So one other thing I wanted to mention that's a little bit different. So this is the blue version, and it's hard to pick up with the lighting I have, but sometimes it goes darker blue and even towards black in certain lighting. I think the contrast on this is so well done. So in varying lighting conditions, these markers, you could see them very clearly. You don't have the waves here, and that could be a contentious topic. I did like the waves on the original. However, because there's no waves, you see the logo and the writing in this is a lot easier, I think, than the other models. And one of my biggest gripes with the No Time to Die, and you could see it in this lighting, is the reflections. So, you'll see pictures of this watch on Instagram, and it looks so clear and clean. But as you can see here, just moving it around, there's a lot of reflections and you lose the hands. And that's one of my biggest gripes with this watch, is that in a lot of situations, you see it kind of like this, and you're losing a little bit of the dial and hands. So that's not an issue with this one. I would say one of the best contrast and visibility of all the Seamasters. So I did own the Brosnan, I did own the Casino Royale, the modern 2018 plus white and black versions, and so far this is my favorite in terms of wearability, sizing, and a few other items. One negative that people say is the bezel action. It's not the best. I think all these Seamasters don't have the best bezel action. So it's not really something I was worried about. I will say, however, you know, the numerals being gray right here on the bezel insert, they are harder to see, but honestly, they're fine. So if you're out in the daylight, they're very clear to see. If you're in a darker situation, they're a little bit harder to see, but I think that's meant to make this watch a bit more versatile in various situations. And why am I saying that this is probably the best wearing watch for smaller wrists? So this actually wears smaller than I think the Brosnan. And the reason for that is because of this ceramic bezel insert. It's a chunkier bezel and it's a little bit wider than the Brosnan. So it makes the dial smaller, and hence the watch overall, even though the case size is the same, looks smaller overall and wears really well on the wrist. So my wrist is 6.75 inches. As you can see, I really like how this wears and how this looks on the wrist. I do have the adjustable clasp here, so with 3 settings. And overall, I'm really liking this version of the Seamaster. Very quickly, how it compares to the No Time to Die. So No Time to Die is one of the slimmer Seamasters of the modern era. You know, obviously, like I said, the legibility isn't as good. You can see because the bezel insert is aluminum, you could see the bezel itself. They can make it a lot slimmer than the ceramic bezel, right? So you could see the chunkiness, and then this makes the watch actually look even slimmer because of the way that bezel kind of slopes down and is slimmer overall. So 13 millimeters, the same actually on this one, 13 millimeters thick. This wears pretty well. I would say of all the modern versions, when you think about the 60th anniversary, the No Time to Die, the ceramic versions, the you know, ones with those engraved waves, the No Time to Die is one of the better ones, I think, in terms of wearing it on a small wrist. So this is how it looks like on the NATO, right? Definitely larger, 42 millimeter watch, and this does measure 42. So it's a true 42, not like the Speedmaster where like the bezel actually measures 40. This is 42 across. So you could see definitely wears bigger, and you know, with this NATO sticking out, it does wear bigger on the wrist, but still very manageable. You know, obviously price difference there, but I would say if you are in the market for a Seamaster, yes, this is not the classic one we know from GoldenEye or Tomorrow Never Dies, but if you like this look, I think for smaller wrist, this is a fantastic watch. And because of this ceramic dial, the color changes, the sizing, this example is pretty much unworn, and you can pick these up for around 3 or under 3. I think it's a fantastic choice. So been wearing it nonstop since I got it. Highly recommend this Seamaster.